Okay, here we are. I already got somebody waiting for me. Nordic, I love it. Somebody else who has no life like me. Good evening. Oh man. How the hell are you today? How you feeling today? Hopefully you're feeling well. I just said fuck it. Let's just start with coffee. And I normally have coffee without creamer in it. And we've got this some kind of magic creamer that has no calories in it or something like that. So that's why I'm going to the light side. I'm bitter enough as it is without having to drink, black coffee. It's just getting to be like torturous to put down. So, all right. How about myself? I'm feeling great. Just got done with the gym, took a shower. Everything is good. Everything is good. So, the painting table is the land of no worries. So let's put some of this shit away because these damn stuff has taken over here. Let's see. A huge project. This is a huge project. Well, not huge. I got a lot of guys to paint. That's all right. We'll get through them. Because not only do I need to get them done because of the 12 elements, but different variations, and we're probably going to use these guys for doing some historical battles at some point. And I'm not going to do every variation of them because I think you can have like seven, 8, or 9 cavalry stands, and I think I'm going to be hard pressed to do 5. I may actually have to get more figures. We'll have to see. Been doing a lot of outside work the last few days and making an effort, at least 3 miles of walking in each day. There you go. That's good. Walking's enough. You don't have to. I don't get running. I just, if I'm going to run, some bastard's going to chase me. You know what I mean? And if some bastard's chasing me, then I'm out of ammo. No, I don't get running. I tried to do one of those run walks a couple of years ago. Like walk for and I just figured I'm going to take it slow, right? I'm going to run for 30 seconds and walk for 3 minutes or something like that. It was still too much. It was just too much, and it just pounding on my shins, just too much. Thinking about building a DBA army to start out with the intent to increase it to field of glory. The question is, what army should you start with? Well, you know what I'm going to tell you. If you've watched any of my videos, you know what I'm going to say. I'm going to say, what the hell are you? I said that to one guy, and he's like, what the hell you mean? He got all defensive, what the hell you mean? I said, was like, what are you? Where you come from? He's like, oh, I'm Italian. I said, well, do Romans, or, you could do a million things if you're Italian, Do your people first. Unless you're like that one guy that was on my feed one time and he didn't like who it was. Was it Anikaru? I don't know. I don't want to point fingers, but you have a right to be proud of wherever you come from. You also have a right to, I guess, not like where you come from. So I forget who it was. May not have been him. It was a guy who was half Thai and half German, and he did not like the fact that he was German. Okay, so don't build a Thai army, Your kneecap moves out of place. Yeah. Yeah, you can't run dislocated kneecap really bad 2001. Not the kneecap 5 inches to the side of my leg. Oh. Oh. Ow. I squat now. When I squat and do things, sometimes I hear my knees and stuff. That used to not happen. It's not painful. It's just, and if I sit I have a habit of if you watch TV or something like that, I got this chair that I sit Indian style or whatever in. When it's time to get up, I feel I'm like 70 years old. But I can get up. I just, sometimes my knee will lock in. I've never had knee issues. So, you have several options there, but I was kind of thinking of starting with something from the ancient Mediterranean world. Well, my favorite starter army for people to do, unless they have an aversion to Romans, is do what they call Polybian Romans, which is, the Punic War Romans. That's always what I suggest. It's a very, it's not. It's mostly heavy infantry. It's got some skirmishers. It's got some mounted, and it's not all one troop type. So you've got some spearmen as far as blades. It's not like the Marian Roman army where it's all blades and it's a huge amount of blades. So it's a little bit mixture of stuff, and everybody likes doing Roman Carthage. So that's I always suggest people to start with that one. A lot of people like to start with early Imperial Roman. The problem with early Imperial Roman, in my opinion, is that I just don't think that their enemies are very interesting. You either play warband armies, which I think that the Romans really outclass, or you play something like the Parthians that are completely different than the Roman army, and just I don't think light horse like the Parthians are represented very well in DBA. I just don't feel like they play. You make the correct decisions that you would if you were actually playing a Parthian army. I don't know if that makes any sense, but you're not making Parthian type decisions. You're making other stuff when you're playing them. So, all right, let's get this Seljuk Turk guy, and this will be an opportunity to do some Middle Eastern style skin, which isn't very different. And most of these guys are just as Caucasian looking as some other ones, but this is an opportunity. This guy's not going to be. We're going to give this guy a little bit of and it's almost the same thing. I just do a little bit different. So, yeah. Well, you should do Alexander since you think so highly of him. It's not an easy army to use. It's not a beginner army because it's got a lot of pikemen are really strong, but you got to get them stuck in. You can have all the pikemen in the world, but if they never get stuck in, you lose. Not only do you lose, but they're going to get hosed. So, I think we're okay on the moisture level. All right, let's get some of these fleshy tones out here, because we're going to need that. Honestly, Alexander and the Persians is probably a good matchup too. I don't think Alexander and the Indians is very good. I think the Indians can really have a field day on Alexander. It's the bowmen. It's not the elephants. It's the bowmen. I was thinking about starting with Alexander. Back when I played DBA 1.0, I actually had Alexander's army and had great success with it. Yeah, I think I haven't played 1.0, but in 2.2, pikemen are definitely better now. Definitely. The fact that they advance automatically represents them a lot better. The fact that they engage in bowmen in close combat and they get rear rank with a pikeman, that helps. So if you get them stuck into a bowman, the bowman's a 2 and the pike's a 6. So, you just got to get them stuck in. They got to get in there, and you got to roll well defensively when you're getting shot at by somebody who has a ton of bowmen, which is pretty much the Indians, because the Persians have some shooters, but it's not a whole lot. It's not like the early Persians, the Xerxes Persians that have a bunch of immortals and stuff like that. Actually, I'm not sure how many shooters the later Persians have. Maybe only 1 or 2 stands at the most. They might have some fast bow or something like that. I can't remember, honestly. But that list also got a lot more interesting because they can actually have a couple knights, too. I think they can have 2 knights. They can have a knight general and knight. It doesn't represent Darius, or Darius as people like to call him. I may be saying it wrong, but I'm definitely of the camp of calling him Darius. All right, let's get some black with this mixed up. And we're going to paint his happy little hands. This guy has kind of a minimalist face. As a matter of fact, his face, I'd show you on video, but he's not going to come out really well. His face looks really similar to a Peter Pig style. He has kind of an open mouth, which is really really indicative of a Peter Pig style. I happen to like that style. Some of the Peter Pig guys have a very Habsburg-like chin, and you know, you just kind of have to get over that. And actually, some museum guys have a Habsburg-like chin. Oh, speaking of wrestling, have I ever showed you my guy that looks like that looks like Hulk Hogan? I gotta go get him. You guys were talking about wrestling yesterday. Maybe we'll wait till Rick comes in and I'll show you. I'm gonna go grab him now, and I'll put him on the screen when. And it's actually a museum miniatures guy that I think looks like Hulk Hogan. I will be right back. All right. Thinking about starting Alexander. It was either 1.0 or 2.0, can't recall which one. Do remember the cover of the rules being white with a slinger. No, I have not. Darius. According to an Iranian lady I dated years ago. Kirush. For the other fellow. I'm not sure who the other fellow would be, but Darius. Well, it doesn't tell me where the syllable break is. I always called him Darius. Might have been wrong. And I've always called him Antiochus too, even though it's probably Antiochus. It just seems weird. But I guess if he named a city called Antioch, nobody argues that the name of the city that he founded is called Antioch. So it makes sense, I guess, that he would be Antiochus, although Antiochus seems to sound better. So, but there's only one way to say Lysimachus instead of Lysimachus. Or however the hell that guy said. I'm out of coffee. What the hell happened? Evening, Clay S. Welcome. I'm gonna refill this coffee. I'm not even gonna turn the sound off. I'll be right back. And then we'll talk museum miniatures. There's two, of all the audiobooks that I've ever read, or ever had read to me, there's two guys that, in my opinion, get pronunciation the best. One of them is none other than Dan Jones. I think Dan Jones does an excellent job on doing, of course, he's just doing medieval stuff, but he tries to pronounce French things correctly. He tries to pronounce Spanish things correctly. Yeah. He does better than most. And the other guy is the guy that narrates my favorite book I've ever read on Audible, which is called, I brought this up before, it's called The Ghosts of Cannae. It's an excellent Audible book. If you guys have Audible, definitely check that out. And you would think, oh, that's just about the Battle of Cannae. Oh no, it talks about before the First Punic War, the First Punic War in detail, and the Second Punic War leading up to Cannae, and then afterwards to the second, and I think it even goes into the third. It's superb. The material is superb. The narrator is like the freaking best. I'm not sure who it is. I want to say his name is David Scalar. I could be wrong, but he is superb in his pronunciation of those words. I think you asked me to borrow mantlets the other day. No, I shall use crescent shields instead. Cyrus is Curious. Nobody would know that is. No, if I said that, nobody would know who that is. According to who? An Iranian lady I dated decades ago. Okay. Okay. Well, let's Rick get in here so we can talk about that wrestling guy. I know Rick's gonna show up. He doesn't have a life like us. He'll be on here soon enough. So yeah, museum miniatures. I don't have any of the Z range. I've seen them. My buddy Joe's painted 2 or 3 armies with the Z range. I think they look excellent. They are not a good representation online. It's almost like somebody did like a 3D rendering, and why am I getting it? This is the wrong time to set up a device. Like, my computer's like, all right, let's set up a device. Like, you're not doing shit right now. We're live. Don't know what I was going to say. That threw me off. But, Z range. So I don't think that their pictures are representative of what they are. The pictures online look very squat. They almost look like dwarves from Games Workshop in the pictures, but they look really good in person. They're consistently getting through. I'm not throwing him under the bus yet. Yeah, that's your job. So yeah, the Z range look really good. I don't think that their representation online is very accurate, which is good because I wouldn't buy them if they look like that. They look very squat. But their earlier figures, I think the owner is the one who's the sculptor, all over the place in size. To give you an example, this is not the guy we're talking about. I don't like the way this looks now. Now that I looked at it, this is my first snow base that I did. And this is it Woodland Scenics snow that I have? I don't know. It might be Scenic Effects snow. And I put it on afterwards, and well, now I'm looking at things without my contacts in. So it just looks like it's just the bits are too big, but this is my snow base for my Norwegians. And these guys are museum miniatures. And so is my Indian horde stand. Same sculptor, and these guys are very hearty looking. Extremely hardy looking. They're huge. I've got actually some Chinese peasants that are even bigger than these guys. Yeah, massive folks, both from museum. And you can see that here is one of the typical museum faces that they used to have. These guys, they have a very Habsburg-looking jaw, and almost, even more accurate than that, their faces look almost like those statues on Easter Island. And, I'm not poo-pooing his sculpting. It's fine. If I didn't like them, I wouldn't have painted them. But they have a very distinct look. Look at this guy. He looks just like one of the guys from Easter Island. And anyway, so these are same sculptor, same figure line, but two vastly different sizes. I was trying to find where the hell my Landsknecht guys are. I have some Landsknecht swordsmen that are huge as well. And they must still be in my traveling box because I don't see them here. But they're also extremely large. Same sculptor, all over the place. I don't really have a problem with them. I can mix and match them pretty good, but anyhow, just kind of odd that these guys are almost 20 millimeter size. Anyhow, well, if Rick's not going to show up, we're going to talk about wrestling. So here is the guy I like to refer to as Hulk Hogan. And if you don't know which one of these guys it is, then you don't know what the hell Hulk Hogan looks like. Let's see if we can zoom in on him. Where's my camera controls? Actually, now to look at it is there he is. And that's a museum miniatures guy. Actually, both of these guys are. Actually, all of these figures right here are. And I like them. I wish they had a more variety of poses, honestly. I don't mind that they're quirky looking. Most figures are quirky looking to a degree, one degree or another. And I like them. My dad was such a fan of Hulk Hogan, he grew a mustache just like him. Poor guy. I'm not growing a mustache. I got my good looks I got to fall back on. I don't have a good personality, so I got to keep my good looks. All right. Let's put these guys away. Let's put those clowns away, as I like to tell Mitch, and Mitch gets excited about clowns. He gets excited about clowns. There we go. Okay, good. Who was the first person that decided that superheroes and wrestlers, I think wrestlers too, they have their underwear on the outside of their tights? Like, why? Why did somebody decide, we're going to make superheroes, but we're going to make them look like their underwear stands out? Whose bright idea was that? I'm all personality and then some. I can spare a little personality for you, Tony. Definite size creep going on there. Do you think Forge and Battle Miniatures would scale right with either Coruscant or Old Glory? I'm going to say they're going to scale all right with Old Glory. Coruscant's also all over the place. Some of Coruscant's horses are just weird. They're really stretched out. They would have trouble fitting on a 30-inch stand. And the only reason I've seen some of Joe's guys, and they're no, actually, Mitch's Swedish Army is made with Coruscant figures, and they are very elongated, very, very elongated. And I looked up some pictures of these guys, and I couldn't figure out what color the little hat is going to be. Well, now that I'm looking at, well, I got to paint their flesh anyways first. So let's just get that over with. It would be nice to get this guy finished tonight, but if he doesn't get finished, he doesn't get finished. As long as we're having a good time, that's all that matters to me. I'm here for entertainment. Are you not entertained? I like them. I don't mind a one-piece cast on the horse. It's one less thing I got to do. You know, the decision's kind of made for you. Decision's kind of made for you, so. Well, I finally finished today the first episode of season 3 of The Boys. So I don't know how many more I got left to go, but it's slow going for me. Watching 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there. Yeah, I'm not going to sit and watch that one. I could be painting. That's stupid. So what we're going to do is we're going to do everything we normally do, but when I start adding this sunny skin tone, I do it to this red leather the way it is. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add it to some of the red leather that still has some black in it. So it's going to be a slightly different. It's not very noticeable. Like I said, you know, skin tone wise, you know, all these guys could probably be the same skin tone and nobody would know, but I'm going to make this guy a little different. And that's what I did with my Courage Army, which are desert folks. And I was really happy with how they turned out. So we're going to go ahead and add the sunny skin tone to this. And you can't really tell it here, but it's going to give them more dull look. They're going to look duller. Sometimes you got to paint in some fingers there, like if they don't have the little divider between the fingers, just to help them stand out a little bit. All right, now the hat, we're going to put a little white, the rolled thing on it. I feel like it should be a light color. That's what we're going to go with. like a buff color or something like that. Kind of bun Curacao doesn't make Alexander's troops or Pyrrhus's troops. My boy Pyrrhus. I like that guy. The funny thing is I put together my Pyrrhus army, my Pyrrhic army. I mean, until I played DBA, I didn't know shit about Pyrrhic. I had no idea who the hell he was. I'd heard of Pyrrhic victory, had no idea that it was named after somebody. You know, I'm not an ancients guy. And, or maybe I did. I just didn't know what it was. Anyhow, wargaming is about learning, so. And they, you know, before I put together what troops I wanted to paint for them, before the Osprey book came out on them. And that Osprey book on Pyrrhus is the first book I've ever gotten pre-ordered. Once I found out it was coming, I'm like, oh, I gotta have that. And then I read it and didn't learn anything new about him. It's like, okay, this was not useful for me, you know? So, anyhow, just a little side note on that. I think when I do them, I've got to grab the little Big Man Studio decals. Even though I was not fond of doing the decals, but his with the little M type symbol on his shields just looks freaking badass. You know, and they make a set for him, so why not? Maybe I'll change my mind. Maybe I'll hand paint them. Those things look better than any shield would have looked like at the time. It's like the ones that I have for my Russians. The only way they would look that good in real life is if they had freaking Michelangelo painting them all. Let's mix. Oh, white's dead, isn't it? No. There's some life in it. All right, now we'll do the little white thing around his head. All right, why do you get left behind here? Basically, I think the mantlets would totally obscure the figures, yeah. So I do that, what range you're using. So what is it about Pyrrhus that I like? He's cool. He fought the Romans. He fought somebody interesting. I don't know. And I'm not a Roman lover. I just think that generally the Romans are more interesting than the other people that they fought. Pyrrhus being the exception, at least for me. What's the interesting thing about him? That he was the first one to use towers on elephants. I think that's what makes him unique. And I would represent that. If I'm going to do successor stuff, None of my elephants are going to have towers because they're all going to happen before Pyrrhus. Pyrrhus is, I wouldn't even call Pyrrhus a successor. He's a post-successor. And none of the successors had towers. Unless you're talking about something like Seleucids and Ptolemaics, that fought some of their battles in the 200 BCs, and that's, estimated guesswork that he was the first one to install towers, but that's what I'm going to go with because that's what you got to go on, and it seems right. Just like somewhere I read, or in a game, I think it was in the game, the elephants he has are African elephants, and I just disagree with that. They should be Indian elephants. Indian elephants with towers, with 2-man towers. They're short and narrow. They're not short. They're narrow towers, not big ones. No pikemen, just a javelineer and a bowman, or a couple of javelineers in the tower. So we'll see. That's honestly, if I do successors after I do the Ptolemaics, bring them up, I should do Pyrrhus first. I've been wanting to do him for over 10 years. I got all the troops for him. I got a figure for him. He's got horns on his helmet. And start off with the elephant. So. And he fought the Carthaginians too. So, and the other thing I like about him is that, especially the first battle, you have a lot of information on what was where in the battle. I don't know. He just seems real interesting. Who else has a victory named after him? No such thing as a Darius victory. What else? There's part of an appeal to me of a guy who didn't win. And I think that's a lot of people have that appeal. I think he's actually a really popular guy, and that may be some of the reason. That's why a lot of people like to play Germans in World War II. Why people like to play Confederates, because they didn't win. So it's like, well, let me see what I can do with them. So there's some of that. And the statue they have of him looks pretty cool. It looks pretty cool. So. It's a shame there aren't more statues of. And, I'm just assuming that's what they look like, because it might actually not be a fair representative of what they look like. But I'm telling you, the people that did the sculptures, Roman and Greek type sculptures, I mean, how old are they? They're like 2,000 years old. You can't put that in the same category as these modern artists like freaking Jackson Pollock. I mean, it's like, it's sacrilege, I mean, those sculptors are amazing. I mean, the tools they used to use, I mean, okay, so they didn't have any hobbies and they had nothing else to do all freaking day long. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. And it's absolutely something that's unforgiving. I mean, if Jackson Pollock screws up, oh shit, I put the splashes in the wrong place. Who's gonna freaking know? It's just like a freaking orangutan throwing shit on a canvas. But if you go too far and the guy's nose is, you break the guy's nose off, yeah, it's a problem. You know, you just can't equate things in the same category. I can't. I mean, you know, but I know the kind of work that goes into creating some things, and I don't put them in the same category. All right, let's get this guy a leather. Let's get this guy a leather thing to put his arrows in. Dun, 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 dun. Hey, you don't have to agree with me. I mean, you know. You don't have to agree with me, and I don't have to change your mind, and you don't have to change mine, and, you know. It's okay to disagree. Pink? No, we're saving this color for a shirt. So I was reading somewhere, I think it's in the Persian culture, that pink was like a badass macho color. Like in the time period of the Crusades. I don't make this up, you know. I have no problem wearing a pink. I happen to not have any pink, but I'm not wearing pink pants. That's a step too far. It's called a total victory for the Darius defeat. Painting a morals, Gregory. Yeah. I think the Persians are cool. I just don't happen to have any because Mitch already has them. But I think they're pretty viable lists, especially the later Achaemenid Persian. I mean, it's pretty much a good army for everything. The earlier ones, you have to protect the bowmen a lot. At least in DBA. Maybe other rule sets that isn't the case, but in DBA, you gotta be careful with them. You can't just throw them out there and, you know. I think the hoplites, or I should say hoplite, have a advantage against them. But last time I fought them, they beat the shit out of my Athenians. Or maybe I was playing somebody else. So I don't know. The reality is how many army lists are there? 550, something like that. There's only maybe 20 that I have no interest in building. All the other ones are fair game. So 20 or so. So I'm not one of those people that's like, oh, I'm only going to paint my people and that's it. You know, I'm like, I'll play with assholes. I'll play with people that I don't like. These people were assholes in real life, but I'll still play with them. Yep, I will. I'll even try to win with them. It's just a game. Thanks for you guys stopping by. I greatly appreciate it. And, you know, hopefully you're working on your hobby stuff while we're doing it. That's what I would do. Just like listening to talk radio without all the bitching and the politics or whatever. This is one guy on talk radio I loved listening to, and then I found out what he was all about, and I kind of lost interest. And it's that Phil Hendry guy. I didn't realize his entire show was fake. I didn't realize that he did all the voices, I should say. I knew it was kind of fake, but I didn't realize he did all the voices. So he's super talented, but I'm like, once I found out he did that, my interest in listening to it was kind of like, you know, but I do like talk radio because you never know what's going to happen next, you know, but I don't, I'm not interested in sports or politics, so, or the news either. I'm so out of touch with the news. I remember last time I was looking at the news, I saw some report that Putin could be dead. Could be dead already. That was like 2 weeks ago or something like that when I saw it. So I don't know. Is he still around? I don't worry about it. I don't worry about. I'm over here in my fantasy world, my historical fantasy world. All right. What other accoutrements can I make out of this? We've got a strap that's sitting over him. We're going to need to do that a lightish color, or it's never going to stand out. See if I can get another color. It's not a gray or a white or something that's a little bit more vivid. What's this? That might be all right. Oh man, all this coffee and I gotta go pee. Supposedly coffee makes you go number 2. It doesn't do it for me. It does the same thing tea does. I just pee a lot. Sir, pee a lot. Syrpy a lot. Next, Tony, 16 Persian armies, undercoated and raring to go, but I like input from other modelers as well. Yeah. And, you know, it doesn't matter what scale you do things in. It doesn't matter if you're painting fantasy. It really doesn't matter. You know? A lot of us are affected a lot by what other people in our area do. You know, if I had started playing DBA and everybody did 25s, I probably wouldn't have gotten into it. But I'm saying is, you know, if your whole group does one scale, you kind of have to. You know, you kind of have to do that, or you end up supplying everything for both sides. And the whole purpose for me getting into this was that I didn't have to do that. I could just play with my own toys. You enjoy the banter, Tony. That is why I keep coming back. Yeah. I should say getting them around the jig that creates a realistic sag. Yeah, we've got to talk about other stuff. You know, this isn't about, hey, let's watch Tony paint and, you know, that's boring. You know, maybe I'll come up with something that's interesting that's from point to point, but we're just kind of hanging out here. We're just doing our thing, you know. Now, what did I do with that color? I know I put it down here somewhere. Here it is. Here's that light beige turd. And, you know, I figured, oh, okay, the obvious thing to do while you're painting is to listen to things on Audible. But, man, next thing you know, I'm not paying attention. I have to rewind, so I have to stop what I'm doing to rewind what I was listening to. And you don't get a lot of things done that way. You don't get a lot of forward progress. So even with all the distractions and the side, you know, the side tracking that we get into here, it's still a lot more forward progress than doing it any other way. Why am I losing track of this thing? I guess it's probably time to change this if I'm losing track of this so easily. Change the paper on here. I'd rather not do that tonight. That's just something that detracts from getting her done. Where is what's left of the white? And I've watched other people do hobby stuff, and man, it just seems like they're all over the place. They're into too many things. I can't be into everything. It's unsatisfying to get a whole lot of nothing done. The handle to this can probably be similar. And we gotta get our friend Mr. Bronze out here. I guess Rick didn't make parole today. I think he's one of those lucky folks that can work from home. I call him lucky. Other people would be like, "Oh, I want to go in the office." Moron. Well, work in whatever clothes you want to and keep the temperature, whatever you want in your own home. Sign me up. All right, I'm going to take a little pee break. I'll be right back in a moment. I'm not even going to put the I'll be right back, because I'll be right back. Alleyway Alley and Rick had a date. And they're still on it. All right. All right, what we got left on this clown? We got some reins to do. Horsehair, hooves. One little sack back here. And that's it. This guy's done. Which, you know, there's a lot on this little figure. Considering this is a one-piece casting, there's quite a bit of detail on here. All right, so we're going to put a sack. I'm going to use the same sack color that I did on the front one because it pops nicely. So I believe this is like a desert yellow or something like that is what it's called. Tan yellow. Tan yellow is what it is. Tan yellow. All right, I've had about enough of this. Let's get the black and the white out here. Let's refresh this. Tomorrow when we start, we're going to start with a fresh piece of paper. Oh, this is the old white. Do I by chance know if Old Glory 15s come with pikes for the Alexandria pikemen? They come with piano wire, and it's sharp as shit, and you'll poke into the end of your fingers. I'm not a fan of that stuff at all. I'm pretty certain that they do. Zyston don't come with any. Just about everybody else molds them on. And then Old Glory doesn't mold them on and gives you the pike thing. But the thing is it just gives you a piece of piano wire that's totally flat on both ends. So, you know. The problem with pikemen is, as good as they look at like 45 degrees or even 60 degrees, the pikes really need to be upright or like a 70 degrees or something like that at the most. Just so when the units contact each other, you know, they're flush. You know, they're flush with each other. All right, where's my little sack? Where's my little sack? Have a field day with that. Here's a little color. It's just getting too confusing with all these little bits of color. It's time to move on and repaint this. I think I'm going to repaint the stripes on, even though it doesn't look bad, it needs to pop a little bit more. I think I need to do that. I don't want this guy looking too bright though, because, you know, bright shades cost money. And this guy's not made of money. That's why he's fighting for the Byzantines. He needs coin. Okay. Got that. He is in need of coin. 15 or 6. Anyone have votes on either scale? Well, if you do 6, you're going to have to supply both armies because most people don't have 6. I wouldn't do 6 because it's got to be a pain in the ass to get the goop in between all the figures. Now, I've seen them finished and they looked fine. That's not the issue. It's just what a pain in the ass that would be. You know? I would do like Renaissance in 6, but they just don't have the figure variety and have to get the little goop in between all the stuff there. Goodbye for now. Purge is being extra demanding just now. Okay. Thanks, Gregory. Thanks for stopping by. Have a enjoy your Friday. I think you're over there in the land down under. So, if I remember correctly. Yeah, it's Friday where you're at. Oh, what do we got left on this guy? The raids? Horsehair? The horsehair is going to be dark. The reins. Let's create something out of nothing. What did we use this for? Oh, that. Let's go with this. Let's paint the reins. Let's start off painting the reins in that color. Then we're going to add white and see what we end up with. All right, the stripes on this guy. Where is this yellow color? Let's bring this over here. Let's add some white to it. Let's add a little bit more white to it. Let's go over these stripes that we have here. There you go, that pops a little bit more. I know another Turk I'm definitely making green. Hair in the hooves. Oh, so one thing I forgot to mention, the figures that I used for those alternative armies, old tabletop games for the Normans, they're some of the best figures I ever popped off and glued on. The base that the horses are on is very, very stable, as opposed to some of the Essex bases, which were really, really minimalist. I'm knowing the game, so it's pretty much what I want. I think the mass appeal 6mm on DBA Field of Glory base sizes would be awesome. Well, it would look more realistic. Definitely. Have that bigger appeal of the whole battlefield. I just can't do 6s because I don't want to paint all the heraldry and stuff like that. And now you're getting crazy. That's crazy talk then. All right, we need some brown chocolate brown. Well, the flat earth works just the same. Flat earth works the same. And let's mix some of this up with the brown, almost black. And let's paint all of the mane and the tail in this color. Add a little bit more of this, and then we'll start adding some lightener to it. Marco, there you are. Not painting Byzantines right now. Well, I am, but I'm not. This is Seljuk Turks. This is a mercenary army, and I don't know if you caught my feed yesterday, but we're definitely going to the Diadochi after these guys. I got 3 books in the mail about that. I'll show them to you. Where are they? They're around here somewhere. Yeah. We're going to be, after we're done with these Byzantines, we're going to be taking it like a Greek. Wars of Alexander's Successors, Commanders and Campaigns, and the second one, which is Battles and Tactics. So we're going to be doing some successors type stuff with that. Actual battles, not just this guy fights this one, have fun, like, you know, special rules and stuff like that. And armies of the Hellenistic states. So this is, I guess, reenactor based. There's a lot of, look at these guys. Hey! Yeah. You have some Diadochi armies. What do you call them? Diadochi? I call them Diadochi. I don't know. It's probably something like that. Greek is so difficult. I mean, hell, they don't even use the right alphabet. Can we all agree to just use the right alphabet? I mean, I like how it looks, but I can't read it. Who's your favorite successor? That's a good question. Let's ask a Greek guy. Who is your favorite successor, and who is your least favorite successor? And Pyrrhus isn't one of them. I'm not calling him a successor. He's just kind of his own. He's kind of his own thing. Oh, here we go. Theathohi. Okay, I'm not calling it that. I'm not calling it that. Oh, damn it. The Greeks had made such a pain in the ass of pronouncing everything. That's why the God got upset with him and brought the Turks upon him. Oh, man. You're asking if Pyrrhus count. No, Pyrrhus doesn't count because he's the best one. You use the Greek alphabet. It looks beautiful. I mean, the Greek, nobody knows what the hell it is. Just like, Hebrew. Hebrew looks really cool. Don't know what the hell anything is. Get with the program. Even the Turks use the right freaking alphabet. Oh, yeah, Pyrrhus doesn't count. He's the coolest one. There's no doubt about it. I don't know that I have a favorite one. Although I need to start, as I'm going to go through the books, and I'm in the middle of doing an audio book on it right now, of them, just to get some basic, I'm starting to not get confused of who's what. Because there's some guys I would get confused with, Lysimachus versus Cassander, and, Craterus versus Perdiccas and stuff like that. I'm past the point where that stuff's confusing. I kind of know, if somebody says Eumenes, I know that what side he's on and who was against him. So I've gotten enough of that stuff kind of beaten into me. And that's what I want to do. I want to get to the point where that stuff is kind of second nature, just by being exposed to it a lot. But I'm going to go through and take notes of, stuff that's important to me for, war game stuff, to kind of wrap my head around it. I wish there was more artistic representations of many of them. There are several, but there's some people that, we don't have anything on them. There's nothing on Polyperchon and things like that. But I don't know that I have a favorite one. I don't know that I have a favorite one. Although I'm going to take notes on there because I definitely favor the guys that weren't in favor of Alexander going Easternifying his. If Perdiccas counts as successor, he has to be the worst. The Thunderbolt. He's the dumbass that got killed by freaking Gauls, isn't he? Thunderbolt. That alone makes him cool. It is a cool name, but he got killed by Gauls. How does an elephant general get killed by Gauls? Just finished one of the tracks for the Königstiger. Man, these things are a pain in the arse. A lot better than the last tracks I put together, which utterly sucked. Eumenes exceeded many expectations. That's pretty cool. Yeah, I don't like guys that get murdered. Seleucus is cool, but he got murdered. Bastard. So I want to do these battles. I think one of, and they're going to have special rules. I think one of the things that's pretty common from reading some of the accounts is they didn't fight to the death. When things started going sideways, the guys were like, oh, what were that guy? And they would just switch sides because they were kind of, a huge amount of mercenary armies. And they weren't necessarily mercenaries from the standpoint of we're going to go here and we're going to recruit a bunch of Gauls. I mean, there was that, but they were kind of guys that kind of swapped. They swapped sides a lot, and there's a lot of treachery and shit like that. So I don't like Alexander. I didn't say that. I didn't say. Oh, I didn't like. I didn't care that Alexander starting being Eastern and shit like that. I'm a naturally conservative person, so if I'm going to play Alexander, I want him to be Macedonian-ish. I think going to 1500, I don't want to have to deal with shipping stuff across the Atlantic. Don't get me started. Yeah. So, who are the guys that were in favor of that? Antipater didn't like that he started Persianifying himself, making people prostrate. I'm fine with Eastern stuff and an Eastern army, but I tell you what, the big draw for me painting Alexander is to paint his horse, is to paint Bucephalus. And I was reading a book that was recommended by somebody, I forget who it was, and right off the bat, it was a description of Alexander. It talked about him on his white horse, and I'm like, okay, stop, okay? Bucephalus was not white, okay? It was a black horse with a white star on his forehead, you know, and that's how I'm painting him, you know. And the leopard skin stuff, I think I would do him justice, but I like Pyrrhus better. Wasn't as good of a general. I don't care. I like Pyrrhus better. It's good to have a restaurant. This summer I'm doing a campaign with my kids. One of my sons has the Polybian Roman army, just the Italian peninsula without Cisalpine Gaul, and the other kind of place whoever the enemies are. That's a strong army. Anyways, I got to do some reading because I want to read the book on the life of Marcellus. I think he's a pretty interesting guy. Sword of Rome. He didn't always ride Bucephalus. Yeah, but he did all the way. Well, Bucephalus died like in India, right? After the river battle. That's how I'm painting him. I'm painting him on that black horse. Yeah, that's pretty cool to have a guy whose horse that he rode on has a name and people know what the name is. It may just be freaking made up. I don't care. The idea of it is pretty freaking cool. I'm a bigger fan of Bucephalus than Alexander. Oh man. Hey, if I'm in Alexander's army, I don't have to worry about Bucephalus taking a liking to me, if you know what I'm saying. I think that's pretty awesome that somebody's horse is named. You know, and that you know what it looks like. That's pretty freaking cool. So, you know, the thing is I think in one part of the rules somewhere it says like, you know, the almost like, you know, the general should be depicted as a guy on a white charger. Well, now wait a second. Everybody didn't ride a white horse, you know? It just depends on who you have, you know? I mean, my Caesar figure's riding a white horse. I would say most of my army's generals are not on a white horse. You got to mix it up a little bit, you know? Oh, hold on a second. All right. Daughter was going away for a couple nights, so I had to say goodbye to it. All right, see what kind of a stir the pot here. Here we go. You think Bucephalus wasn't always his warhorse? I not just hear that. Bucephalus ain't no hairdresser. There you go. There you go. Step away to take a whiz, and Tony starts talking trash on Alexander, choosing his horse over him. Yeah. Well, the horse isn't going to make a move on me. You've made my decision, Tony. I'm going to go with an Alexander Macedonian army. You should. You should. You're going to go with 15 millimeter. I think I'll try mixing Old Glory, maybe Forged in Battle. I would do Forged in Battle. I mean, they just weren't around when I started. I think their stuff looks awesome. Make sure you go with somebody that makes an Alexander figure. Because you got to have that. So, my biggest gripe about Alexander. You ready? Keep your pants on. It's actually not his fault. It's not his fault. This book. So I picked this up at the used bookstore, and this is kind of a compilation thing. It's actually a really good book. And it's by, of course, my favorite. The artwork in here, I think, is all exclusively by the guy that died. The guy that died. Not bad. $6 freaking bucks. And it's basically brand new. Yeah, it has shelfware. Who is it? My freaking favorite author here. The guy with the Scottish name. No, there's artwork by other people in here. You know who he is. Angus McBride. Angus McBride. Okay. So the problem with his book is, they have lots of pictures of shit that you don't want to see in Alexander stuff. Like, for instance, you got Alexander as an officer. Okay, that's a good picture, right? Oh, that doesn't look like Bucephalus. What the hell? Just wait till Bucephalus finds out he was riding some other horse. I'm gonna get so jealous. Companions, other guys. But when you get to the infantry, here's some shit pictures of infantry. Like here, they're not wearing any damn, that guy, they're like not having their pikes up and stuff like that. I mean, they could have done a lot better. Like, okay, an opportunity to show a shield. We're not going to put anything on the shield. Cop out. Again, none of these guys are holding a pike up in the air. Like, why not? I mean, hell, it's his army is heavy on that. I guess his army has a lot of guys in purple. It's kind of cool. Don't make me paint an Alexander army. The hairdresser. Anyhow, that was my gripe that they didn't show him. But my favorite ancient book of all time. I'm getting sidetracked. You knew it was going to happen eventually. And this is actually a book that I knew about before I ever got into Ancients, and I love this book. I'm actually going to bring out two. One of them is lots of people's favorite book. I don't think very highly of it. I just don't care for the artwork that's in it. It was just really cheap when I got it. I think I got this for like $10. Nope, $8.95. Okay, and this is a used book. Bullshit. Nobody ever even turned a page on this thing. So Greece and Rome at war. It's not bad. It's not bad. I guess it just has lots of different illustrators, and none of them really jump out at me and say, man, I really just love that. The book I love, honestly, I haven't looked through here very much. I probably should. The book I love and have gone through the whole thing, and this is one of the first books I got when I got into Ancients, is Warfare in the Classical World. And I love the art. I love the art in here. Oops. No, don't come out of there. There we go. I love the art in this book. I mean, just the style it's done in is just fabulous. Look, they even made these barbarians look interesting. Let's get the Alex. Let's get the Alex in here. Look at these Roman. This is definitely like 70s looking artwork. I just love the style that they're done in. Maybe it doesn't appeal to you. It appeals to me. I like it. Let's see who they got for Alex here. Nope, nothing yet. Nothing yet, yeah. Map. Siege of Tyre, right. So show me some pikemen. Okay, here's a companion guy. I want to see some pikemen. What is it with people that don't show freaking Macedonian pikemen? What's wrong with you? Not one Macedonian pikeman? Here's a guy with a trident, but this is an Italian city-state. Manatee, I want to say, isn't it? Sounds like that's who it should be. Maybe it's Athenian. Look how lame. Look at this. Look at this Spartan guy. Look how cool this guy looks. I love this book, man. And this is a less than $20 book. So if you're into ancients and you don't have this book, go out and buy it right now on Amazon. It's freaking spectacular, and it goes all the way through like the fall of Rome, and it's an easy read. It's not like childish by any means, and there's lots of stuff on battles. It's really good to just kind of whet your appetite. They even made the ancient Spanish not look super dorky. I think some of the ancient Spanish guys just like, what the hell's that guy wearing? So, anyhow. Good stuff, man. Good stuff to get your creative juices going. All right. Marco sounds like fun. Your campaign of Samnite Army waiting to paint. I'm wearing shorts. No pants here, too. Too hot. Yeah, I'm wearing shorts, too. No pants. Should go to this Countess. Yeah. You have that book, Agree Complete. It book is... those books that you get and you just look at them and they captivate you, and you're like, I want to do this, I want to do this other thing, and the style that they're done in, and the Connolly book doesn't do that to me. All the artwork that's in Warfare in the Classical World is just off. I don't know, it just speaks to me like 6th grade when we learned about the Peloponnesian War and shit like that. So, yeah, the cool thing about Alexander's army is you could paint a few guys with like their helmets with the blue paint and stuff like that. That's one thing I've actually found that I enjoy painting. A few helmets. You can't go crazy and paint them all because then it just looks wrong. But paint a few helmets here or there, file leaders or whatever, and with the blue paint, and it really makes them stand out really, really well. Have you guys seen my Ptolemaic, my successor dudes? I guess I should pull them out. I never really get anything done. Well, that's the first thing I'm going to do when I end up going to the successors. I'm going to do the funny thing is I built the Ptolemaic army, and Ptolemy is not my favorite guy by a mile. I don't think he's very interesting, regardless of how pivotal or successful he may or may not have been. I built that army because I wanted a littoral army, and nobody at the time that I knew had a Ptolemaic successor army, and that was the reasons that I picked that one. Not for any other reason than that. And I kind of wanted to make them look like they were in the desert type stuff, but not a big fan of Ptolemy. Not a big fan of people that crown themselves pharaoh. Like, they know better, but they went ahead and just went with the bullshit. I don't know. I don't know that I got a favorite guy. I need to read more about him. I need to read more about him. Yeah, I don't know how the lightning bolt got killed by Gauls. He must have like recoiled and didn't have a recoil or some shit like that. There's a guy that did. There's a guy that did a list on all the successors on his YouTube channel and ranked them based on how successful it was. And it was really interesting because it was a good primer to hear about these folks that I never even heard about and kind of, found out if they were successful or not. But, guys like Python and Pusestus and kind of the smaller type players, Polypercon and those guys. I think it's really interesting. And I think really well suited to do battles because they're all combined arms. They pretty much have a well-rounded array of different elements in their army, with exception of maybe bows. Some of the Greco-Indians have a couple stands of bows that they could have, but it's one of those things. If I'm going to do historical battles, it's going to be based loosely on the army lists that are provided in DBA 3.0 because DBA 3.0 is an army list that's trying to cover, one faction or one of the successors in every battle that they're in, not necessarily maybe what was specific to, one of the engagements. So, anyhow, I'm looking forward to it, but I don't really want to make generic units. I don't want to just make let me just do a lot of Theropoloi and, Therophoroi or however the hell you say them, and we'll just use them for all kinds of different armies. No, I want to use ones that are specifically Seleucid or specifically something else. What was the book name I was trying to fit my tracks on the tank? It is called Warfare in the Classical World, and it may have different covers. This book was probably first printed in, I'm going to say 1981. And it's been since printed many, many, many times. This one was printed in 95, but it looks like it's a printing in 1980, 1995, and 2002. So, but it's by John Worry. And I guarantee that it is available still on Amazon. It is superb. It's, if you don't have any ancient books, that's, you like my Greco-Indians, and I love my Greco-Bactrian. I would like to do Greco-Indians because the dude named Menander, and Menander, isn't Menander also the name of this symbol? And I got that shit. That's what I wear. I wear Greek shit. So I'm a big fan of those square infinity circle things. Squigglies. Square squigglies. Big fan of that. And that's a pretty well-rounded army. They got a couple of bow guys. The general is considered a cavalry, not impact. It's a pretty cool army. I'm going to call this guy done. One Turk. That took forever. And I don't think it was the distraction. There's just a lot of stuff to paint on him. All right, so what we're going to do, this guy's going to be pinkish. We're going to start with red, and it's going to go pink. Well, with that said, what color horse are we going to do? Let's do a lighter color than that horse. Let's do, this is a base color. Another reason I wouldn't like Carthage. They conquered the Iberian Peninsula. I don't have a really strong connection to anybody in the Iberian Peninsula prior to the Reconquista. I really don't. I just, the ancient Spanish, they they worshipped like freaking bull gods and did sacrifice animals. I'm not a big fan of people that sacrifice animals. It just seems kind of, I don't have I don't consider the ancient Spanish my people. Maybe it's just a little too early. But no, I don't like the Carthaginians because they sacrificed their own children. It's, whether or not that was true or not, that's what I'm going to roll with. That's really the only reason. I mean, if you're going to do child sacrifice, let it be the children of your enemy, not your own children. That doesn't compute, If I'm worshiping some god and they want me to kill my own child, then you know what? I'm going to fight for the other god that's the enemy of that guy. That's just, that doesn't really work well with my psyche. But even with that said, Hannibal's still a badass. So do any of you believe that Atlantis actually existed? And if so, where do you think it was likely located? Don't make me pull out that freaking role-playing game. Have you seen me? Nah, I'm going to pull it out, damn it. I knew I was going to have fun tonight. The one role-playing, the one fantasy thing I have. This thing's awesome. Kicking it like it's 1985. I know I've talked about this before. It's probably a Saturday morning thing. It's true. Baal worshippers in the Middle East did the same. I'm not worshiping any horn god looking thing that involves human sacrifice. That is just, I don't care whether you believe in the devil or not. That is fucked up. That is just fucked up. You know how people don't like clowns? I don't like goat-headed horn things. That's what I have a problem with. Doesn't matter whether you believe in the devil or not. People are still getting sacrificed, whether or not that has any real power. That is just fucked up. Okay. This book is awesome, and it's still available. I probably picked this up when I was 15 years old, and probably the last time I played roleplay. I thought it would be really cool. So this is a background information on the lost world of Atlantis. And it is... I don't have a map. It had a map on here. It had a map insert, and I lost it along the way. But here is the map of the lands. And you can see the similarity. You could see you've got Africa here with an ocean. You could see... this is the Arabian Peninsula. You've got... South America over here, parts of North America. This is Atlantis itself. Boy, this is hard to do backwards. Right here in the middle of the ocean. Here's part of Europe. And it is loosely based. It's like fantasy history. So in other words, you'll find Native American, Incan type civilizations here. You will find same thing over here. You've got the Atlanteans here. You've got some European stuff, which, you've got a couple of the countries have like dragons and orcs and stuff like that in them. You've got it's really, really freaking interesting. So what's really cool about it is, well, you mentioned that is, you said where Atlantis was located. And according to this, it's, in the middle of the Atlantic, out here, but I was thinking this would be a really good thing to maybe create your own. I don't want to say hordes of the things because I don't want to play another Phil Barker set of rules that I have to try to dissect sentences anymore. I've played hordes of things a couple times, but there's some, in here it talks about every one of the nations, and kind of breaks them down. Hey, I even colored some stuff way back when. Colored pencils, circa 1986. A couple of the cities of Atlantis have, actual like role-playing game, like, okay, what's 12? 12 is over here, the Royal Military Shipyards, you know, um, and you got Hesperia, where the Amazons are from. Anyways, really, really cool book. If I ever did anything fantasy, that's probably what I would do. Anyhow, let's see where I lost here. Middle East existed. It probably was Roman level of sophistication. North America location. Someone really needs to keep account how many times I've derailed Tony on these threads. I call it, you know what? I would have lost interest and not. I would have just gotten bored. So you are keeping me from not being bored. So kudos to you. You believe it existed somewhere out of the Atlantic, just beyond the Straits of Gibraltar. Likely had technology a bit more advanced than the Minoans. We'd be willing to say Minoans are either a colony of Atlantis or Atlantis came from them. I think it was a bullshit story that had to do with the Thera explosion. I think that it was that was a cataclysmic thing that they created a bunch of stories around. If I had to guess. Now, I remember around 1990, 1991, I was living with a friend of mine at the time, and there was a program that was on TBS or something like that, and I don't know what the hell it was called, but it was some bullshit thing from the late 70s that involved like the Bermuda Triangle and these freaking crystals that they had, and that's where Atlantis was, and they were power, and they were making things disappear. Okay, well, I've never done those drugs for that to make any sense, but I think it's just a made up story, like lots of things are that have come throughout the ages that, are like these, like you got some wise guy that's running like the religion in your country. You're like, hey, why is the sky blue? It's like, man, I better come up with an answer. I'm out of a job. The guy still wants to be high priest or whatever, so they come up with a story and they just pass it along. But some things we're just never going to find out, But I think that having some kind of, a fantasy setting like that could be pretty cool. But, as Nordic says, I can't be into everything. If I'm doing that, I'm certainly not going to do World War II ever again and never going to finish these damn Turks. So, But if I was going to do Atlantean figures, I would use Peter Pig elves. I've looked at them. I've like salivated, like, okay, I would build this army with that. But there's no army list. But it'd be like the opportunity. Like, for instance, there's one of the countries in here is called Avalon, and it corresponds with Britain. Okay, it's even shaped like Britain, and in here, you find it here. Strange, they put the Americas here, so Avalon, Europe, falls into Europe. And most of these places are inhabited by humanoid people. I mean, yeah, there's a couple of troll states. Here it is. Avalon's, let me get it on the screen. Avalon's up here. And if you look at the description, Avalon, you got a little knight here in like War of the Roses type of armor. Okay. And one of the things it describes in here is basically Avalon has a small but effective army led by members of the Order. This force was made up exclusively of heavy cavalry armed with lance, greatsword, and mace, and wearing full armor, is employed to patrol the surrounding countryside. So, so that is a primarily all knights. It'd be cool to kind of do something like that, Minoan eruption could very well wipe out Atlantis. It's possible a civilization existed named Atlantis and its power was such lightly embellished by Plato. Yeah. Could Plato pass a drug test? I just think that if something was just so over the top, we would have found out. We would find more clues of it now. like aliens built the pyramids. Well, they may have, but you know what? It's not looking really good for their side because they did a really good job of hiding their tracks, you know? So, I'm a big fan of, show me the frickin' alien and then we'll talk. So, right. So, light color for a horse. Think it'd be cool to do a fast skirmishing game using elements from Jason Argonauts. I've never seen that movie. I haven't avoided it. It just wasn't on. When I was a kid, what was on all the time was the original Ben-Hur. What old movies? The Sinbad movies. The Sinbad movies that have all the Harryhausen stuff. But I never saw Jason and the Argonauts. It wasn't like I wasn't trying to watch it. I just, it was just never on. When we were kids, you had to watch whatever was on. That was it. End of story. Not like, I want to watch this. Well, tough shit. You'll have to wait for it to come on. So one of my favorite games that I talked about recently, Diablo, big fan of the series, right? So they ripped off this company called THX, I think is the name of the company. Anyways, they ripped off Diablo 2 and created a better version of it called Titan Quest, and it's all Greek-based. It's like a Greek-based Diablo, and it's better. It's better because it's got all the, it's got all the legends that we know about, which are, I love Greek mythology. I think it's super, super cool. It's historic, and you play through other stuff as well, but it's mostly Greek legends. They got some Persian stuff and some Chinese shit, you're a fan. I do too, because, at the end of the day, somebody has a toy that came to life on screen. Somewhere there's a model that came to life. The Hoffman, welcome. Going trying to finish your chariot tonight. Awesome. That's what we're here for. Keep you company. So, I think Greek mythology is awesome. I think it's historical to a degree. You know what I mean by that. A lot of our modern civilization is ingrained in it. So, but there's a lot of common myths throughout several civilizations, like the flood thing. The flood myth. It's in all kinds of cultures. So obviously something happened that lots of different people had to try to explain. So some of it's got to be based in something real, And I think the Atlantis thing is like that. But by the same token, there's some things that, that are a lot more visible than the lost civilization of Atlantis, and we haven't been able to find. I mean, the stuff that they found, I haven't really followed it that closely, but, they found some of the Alexandria that got buried out in the ocean from the earthquakes and stuff like that. That's in like 30 or 40 or 50 or 60 feet or maybe more like 100 feet of water. We don't know what's out there, and that's like right there on the coast. So there's just a lot of stuff that, unfortunately has been lost. Titan Quest is cool. I thought it was awesome. Another one of those games that I played all the way through all the difficulty levels. Yeah. And then when you're done, you get to listen to the little show where all the little creatures from the game come out and play. Finish the building tracks one side of Cunning Star, pretty cool. Side 15 layers into great. Apparently, satellite images show some sort of wooden object on Mount Ararat. Saw something on that a few years back, but apparently it was being kept under wraps. The flood happened for sure. Yeah, there's some things we're just never gonna know, you know. I'm not a big fan of all that stuff being literally the way it is, you know. And they've got a. I went to work with a. I say I used to work with a guy. I still work with him. And one thing that struck me as that was that you start talking about dinosaurs, and this guy is, you know, that was like my first love is freaking dinosaurs and shit like that, you know. And you start talking about dinosaurs, and he's like, "Oh yeah, well, you know, the dinosaur. This guy just, you know, the dinosaurs aren't around because they didn't make it on the ark." I'm like, "What about the water dinosaurs? What, they got too much water in the, you know?" So there's just some things we're just never gonna know, and it just ends up being like, you know, what do you believe in? What do you want to believe? You know, we haven't even figured out what the hell happened on this planet, and we're worried about the freaking stars that are 15 million light years away. I mean, come on, you don't have even the slightest freaking clue. But if you say that, you know, you're out of a freaking job. So you know, you don't say stuff like that. But there's just some stuff you don't even know. So, and probably never will. And I don't lose any sleep over it every night, you know. But then some stuff, I just don't understand how they arrived to it. I mean, I get that. I get that maybe you're wanting to start some kind of a civilization, right? And you want you and your family to be at the top tier of civilization so you can run everything. So you get all the good food, you get to sleep on the comfortable bed, whatever. So you decide to create this religion that's just made up out of nothing, right? And you got to keep it going so that your people can stay at the top tier and manage everything and be kind of, you know, the dictator, so to speak, of what's going on. But how do you explain something like, say, the Aztecs? Okay, because the Aztecs, like, you know, you got to do the human sacrifice to you had to do the human sacrifice because, you know, so the sun would rise. And I get you want to keep your people under control, and maybe you want to sacrifice other people so your neighbors don't get all uppity and stuff and take you over. But at the same time, the priest there, they would do. All right, I gotta show you this. They would do. Where is this? And this is a super cool book. This is a super cool book. I just gotta find it. Da, 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 da. Not ancient armies in the Middle East. It's one thing to try to control your people and come up with crazy shit to keep them in line, right? It's another thing when you're the guys that are in control and you put that crazy shit on yourself too. So, you know, like these guys, you know, they're wearing a suit that's made out of human skin. Like, I get killing your neighbors. I get that, you know, because, you know, for conquering and taking land. But, you know, that's like taken to the other extreme. But what I was getting at is these priests. Let's see if there's a picture of them in here. These are some cool freaking armies, man. I mean, just really colorful. I've got to do all the conquistadors to do, but I got to buy the allies for them as well. And let's see if there's a picture of them in here. There's a picture in here somewhere. They would sharpen their teeth. They would grind their teeth down into points and stuff like that. There's a pic. Like, why would you do that? You know, why would you make all this stuff up that's self-deprecating to the extreme just to stay in control? Maybe there isn't a picture in here. One of these books has stuff like that. I mean, I get wanting to invent these things to keep your people in line, but man, I mean, just like I mean, did it really believe? Oh, we got better sacrifice. I mean, who's the first person that's like, man, we better sacrifice somebody just for the sun to rise? How about like, what did you do? Forget one day, and the one day you forgot there was an eclipse, and you freaked out? Okay. I think our rod has been debunked. Cool Greek mythology game is Apotheon. It's a cool game if you want an NES style Jason Argo type game. Cursive Isios. I always had a thing for the Labyrinth and the Minotaur. Always had a thing for that. You like Greek mythology, okay? Greek history is better and worse. If you had a time machine, you could go back any time to see any single event in history, what would you choose to see? I'd be tempted to change it. And then, you got the butterfly effect. I don't know. Anyone can answer that question too. How do we explain human existence without God? First cell spontaneously. I don't know. Aztecs were pure satanic evil. I think my people should have showed up sooner. And my people weren't nice folks. But, that's what happens when you're fighting the enemy in your own land for 800 years. That's what my people knew how to do. Kill others. So, I definitely think that the Aztecs are good that they were gone. But, they did it to themselves. There was only a handful of Spanish invaders, and they couldn't have done it without their allies. I mean, it's like 500 to 20,000. Like the Spanish showed up with, I think the most that they ever had in any battle was like maybe 1,200 troops ever. I'll have to go through that book again, but it's insane. But it was like they had 20 or 30,000 allies to fight 40 or 50,000 Aztecs. So I mean, it was they couldn't have done it without them being such dicks. So yeah, Aztecs are definitely way up there on worst civilizations ever, along with the Assyrians and just people you can't negotiate with. Okay, like you take somebody like the Persians. Okay, you got Greeks and Persians. I'm definitely on the Greeks are better than the Persian list. There's no doubt about it. But you could negotiate with the Persians, right? I think the Persians were pretty reasonable as far as they just want to be in charge, and they didn't really give a shit what you worshipped as long as you paid your taxes and stuff like that, and you supplied troops and stuff like that. That's pretty reasonable, But when it's like, how about we just give you money and go away? No, it's not going to work. How about we kill people for you? Nope, we want you dead. Sorry, that's a deal breaker, dude. You can't negotiate with folks. It's pretty much, it's pretty much a no-brainer, But I definitely don't fall into the camp of Europeans came over here and everybody was sitting here living in the Garden of Eden. Oh well. But they weren't wonderful people by any stretch of the imagination. One of the things that I value really highly is don't tell people one thing and do something else. So, maybe I just wouldn't have survived in a different time period. But, I don't tell somebody like, yeah, no, we're here to do something good, and then turn around and stab them in the back. I'm not a fan of people that do stuff like that. I think it's extremely dishonorable. So, Persia reasonable until Xerxes tried to crush Greece and failed. A great what if. Alexander had accepted Darius's offer of marriage to one of his daughters and a position in the Persian Empire. How would history have changed drastically? I don't know. So one thing I'll give you between Alexander and Hannibal, Alexander definitely had longer lasting effects than Hannibal did. Hannibal was just a freaking pest, But even Alexander was stymied by Afghanistan. He had to marry Roxana to kind of half-ass keep those people in line. So that place has been a thorn in every invader's side since, well, probably before Alexander. We just don't know, I think, where was Alexander going to go next if he'd lived? Arabia? Carthage? Rome? I just don't buy that, he conquered the whole known world. They knew the freaking Romans were over there. They just didn't want to go that way. It was payback for the Persians. I get it. I agree with it too. I got no problem with that. That was payback. He just what do you guys think? He was poisoned or he ran out of liver? I could totally see his people poisoning him for him going soft. For him going Eastern. I could totally see that. Totally could see that. Like, oh, this guy comes over here and he wants us to bow to him, and he's getting all Persian-y and shit like that. We got to put an end to this guy. People have been killed for less reasons than that. You think he was poisoned? Hannibal lived for the vendetta, whereas Alexander lived to open cultural exchange throughout the known world. Yeah, see, the Hannibal story is more interesting. What kind of a movie you want to see? You want to see a revenge movie? Or do you want to see a, we just want everybody to get along kind of crap? Here's a question. Hopefully Marco, I'm sure Marco will have an input on it. So who should have succeeded Alexander? Ooh. Who should have succeeded Alexander? Should it have been Philip Aridaeus? Should there have been a guardianship until Alexander the Fourth came of age? Interesting. I actually don't have an opinion on the matter. I don't think it should have been Philip Aridaeus. I don't have an opinion on the matter, but I'm going to tell you what I think anyways. I think that probably it should have been Alexander the Fourth, but I totally can understand why the generals would say that shit ain't gonna fly, and break off and fight about it. That's totally reasonable, in my opinion. That they're gonna give it to some snotling kid from Afghanistan. Alexander's poisoned. Liver disease takes years to kill, and you have trouble clotting your blood for years. Okay. So who poisoned him? Was it Cassander? His son should have succeeded Alexander. Yeah, I'm totally with the generals then. I'm totally with the I'm totally for poisoning him then. Oh, man. Will we find out who killed JFK before we find out who killed Alexander? Oh, man. It's interesting. It's interesting to speculate. Have any of you guys listened to that lecture on Alexander by that Professor Harl? I think it's awesome. I think it's. I learned so. I thought it was super, super interesting. Except the part where he got into the coins. That was the only part that was. I didn't really care for too much. The coinage. That was, I think one of the lectures. One of like the 25 or 26 lectures. I thought it was freaking awesome. Hard to say something. The real answer is no one was capable of succeeding Alexander. Hard to say. Ptolemy and Perdiccas probably are towards the top of the list. Those are fighting words. Yeah, I would not have been in favor of. I'm telling you, if I'm fighting with Alexander, some chick's son from freaking Afghanistan isn't going to take over that shit. I'm just saying, I totally can relate. I totally can relate. I gotta read more of these guys, find out who exactly side I'm on. Maybe what does that make me, like a Polyperchon type guy? I don't know. That guy was supposedly, I read somewhere, was it Pyrrhus that thought that Polyperchon was a badass? I think I read somewhere like that, but Polyperchon he didn't win any freaking battles. I don't think. He might have been a badass, but he didn't win a single freaking battle. I think his mother was behind it. She was behind the murder of Philip, so why would she not be capable of being behind the murder of Alexander for forgetting her in Macedonia? Angelina, huh? Angelina was behind it all, the snake charmer. You just don't like her because she was from Epirus. I don't know. It's interesting. The thing that makes the whole successor thing so more interesting to me than Alexander's one guy, and the successors is like 16 guys, and most of them are really interesting, and I don't think any of them really stand out as being like so much better than the rest of them. So it's almost like you've got all these other guys you could, that are interesting, Oh, man. Keep in mind they had a close relationship, and then he cut her out after her suspected her of having Philip killed. Yeah. So here's another question, all right? So you are a companion of Alexander. You fight his heavy cavalry. You use a Xyston. You charge at full speed with, some pole that's, I don't know, somewhere in the neighborhood of 12 to 16 feet long. Let's go to low end, 10. I don't remember what it is. I have to look it up what it is. So what happens when you encounter somebody at the charge? How do you not get thrown off your damn horse because you don't have any stirrups? How does that happen? And if you could go even earlier, and how the hell did the freaking Lydians do it? Because the Lydians have heavy cavalry as well. They have impact cavalry. It should be the more correct way to do it, is impact cavalry. Or is the horse the one that's doing most of the damage? I mean, given I don't want to be freaking run over by a horse, but interesting stuff. I'm going to go through those books, and I'm going to go with some notes, and I'm going to start categorizing people like, okay, this guy's old school. Like, which guys are the old school guys? I mean, we know Antipater's an old school guy, okay, but he's freaking old, to begin with. He's the oldest guy, and then you got old One Eye. Which is a shame that Zyston only makes a figure of him on the carried on the litter, because he apparently got really, really fat. Okay, Zyston was 11 to 14 feet. Now, it was in there. So how do you super thighs, huh? Watermelon crushing thighs. I think it was a stab and withdraw as opposed to a car accident smash of medieval knights. Okay. Death via snoo. I'm going to have to look that shit up. Well, attackers were charged in and delivered the initial hit with a Zyston, and then they drew their sidearms for the real killing. One strike. Okay. So again, who's your favorite successor? Maybe nobody has a favorite one. That's fair enough. Who's your favorite successor? Other than Pyrrhus? One of the guys I was looking at has a couple of elephants. Was it Polyperchon? Polyperchon wasn't around very long. If he's like a big loser, there's an incentive to do him because, I won a battle. I did better than the real life guy. Snoo from Futurama. Yeah. Okay. I've only watched like one episode of Futurama. Sorry. Find Eumenes pretty interesting, but they almost all die. Eumenes wasn't Macedonian. Aha. You haven't got a favorite successor. I don't think I do either. That's probably a good thing, honestly. Yeah, if we're not counting Paris. Wish more of them had statues. Let's salute more statues that aren't freaking damaged, Oh, I wonder if I can post something on here. I know not all you guys are on Facebook. Let me see if I can get away with this, because this is really cool if you guys have not seen this. Let me go into uncharted ground here. All right, let's do this. Let's go. Let's add a window. I came across this, and this is super freaking cool. Because if you guys have not seen this, you need to see this. And then we'll talk about one of the things that's on here. Let me go to my page. And I'm going to need use of my mouse. Let's unplug this, which is my little light that I'm not using. Let's plug the dongle in. I think that's the correct terminology. I got kicked in the dongle. That's what it sounds like. All right. This. All right. Here is a link to a video that all you guys need to see. And no, it's nothing inappropriate. It is freaking awesome is what it is. Now let me see if I can put this here. Sign in to chat. Okay, I can't do it that way. Let me go here. Let me go channel content. Let me go this live. Let me go here. One second here. I need to do this anyways. Learn how to freaking use this thing. View in your live control room. What's this do? Okay. Check this out. That is a link to a YouTube video that this guy used computer animation and brought the successors to life, blinking and stuff like that. And definitely check that out. You find Philip the father to be the most interesting, even more than Alexander. Hegemony is a good video game that covers Philip's rise. Huh. Interesting. Yeah. So the guy that actually built the army that Alexander just piggybacked on is more interesting. Oh man, that'll piss some people off. Hegemony, huh? Okay. Let me go back to my other screen. I have to see what that's all about. Philip, another one-eyed guy. Did he always fight on foot? Did he fight on foot with a phalanx? Where was I? Here. Good discussion tonight, folks. I think probably one of the more interesting ones for me would have been Seleucus, had he not been poisoned. Because he seemed like he was in the right place at the right time. You know, he joined the right team when he needed to, and he was able to carve up a great big piece of land, and then he ends up getting murdered. Army was largely trained by Philip, but Alexander brought better cavalry tactics. Yeah, so did Philip fight on foot? I feel like that. I feel like he did. Because Alexander was like his right hand man, literally. Like he tacked on the right. Well, for what it's worth, I do prefer Val Kilmer to whatever that Irish dude. I think he was miscast. I think that was just the wrong guy. I don't know why they would have cast him. You know. So anyway, so one of the things I wanted to talk about that video was it brings up Alexander to life, and apparently I did not know this, and I watched a freaking 28, 30-hour discourse on Alexander. I thought it would have come up is that he had the two different color eye thing. I did not know that. I don't know. Maybe that's not accurate, but whatever the hell that's called. That's one of them Greek long-winded names that I can't think of what it is. But he had, according to that video, he had two different color eyes. Never heard of that. Never heard of that before. But anyways, you bring that video where all the successors come to life. Everybody looks Greek except Alexander. All the other guys look very Greek, like modern Greek. I think they're just guessing on some of the hair color on some of the other successors. Not Alexander, but the other guys. Colin Farrell, yeah, I don't care for him to begin with. I just think he's a miscast. Shouldn't have cast him. Jemmy does a good job for Peloponnesian Wars and Rise of Philip. They have a Rise of Rome game too. Check. I have to see what that's all about. See, I don't find the Romans interesting after the Republic falls apart. Once they go into the Empire and Augustus and all that crap, I don't know. Maybe I'm just specifically affected by the guy that played Octavian in the Rome series. I hated that guy. That guy needed to be. I didn't care for him at all. I didn't care for his character. But to me, the Romans are a republic. Corrupt or not, doesn't matter. You know, that's what it is. I mean, yeah, sure, they turned into the empire and stuff, but I just kind of lose interest in me. And I'm sure there's lots of people who feel the opposite way, you know? Or some that like both. The Roman games about the start of the city. Cincinnatus and stuff like that. Actually, that's even before that. There's one battle I want to do, and I forget which one it is, but it's like a double Roman army versus the it's like two Roman armies versus the Samnites and the Gauls. I think that would be a really cool battle to do. I forget which one it is. I can't think of it right now, but since we've got Samnites and Gauls, and we got enough Romans, that might be cool to do. But I get that. I'll like read about something and go like, oh, that would be really cool to do. So I look into like, okay, what figures would I have to buy, etc. Like, I think it would be really cool to do an army of those freaking naked Gauls. that painted themselves blue. Now, I don't know if I was trying to look for that the other day. I don't know if the Gauls actually did that, or it was more the Britons, but naked blue guys. That would be pretty. I mean, just the jokes just write themselves. But apparently, the naked Gauls are fast warband, according to the Book of Barker. The Battle of Centium sounds right. This game's Grand Tactical, more like Rome Total War. They're Grand Tactical games. I like buying games through Steam because if they suck, you could turn them back in and get your money back. And that's happened to me a couple times. Or you think, oh, the game's going to play like A, and then you try it out and you're like, oh, this isn't what I want to do at all. And send it back. I just can't get into playing the Rome Total War anymore. I mean, I used to. I played the original one a lot. And the Picts. Okay, no, but there was somebody like the Gauls or something like that ran around naked painting themselves blue. Yeah, the Picts have all those cool glyphs and stuff like that on their banners and shit like that. Like, really, really cool. The Gasati or Gassate or however, those were the guys those were the Gauls that fought naked, but I thought they painted them blue. I want to say I've seen somebody's rendition of them being painted blue, not just tattooed with the blue ink. I just mean like literally they were like dipped the guy in blue. Like that would be funny, you know? Run around with a bunch of blue penises, you know? They would just write the jokes would just write themselves. All right, you're gonna make me look it up. I gotta look at it now. Let's go to here. Open. Hegemony game. Oh, it's a board game? Yeah, I also have a computer game. Okay. Clash of the Ancients. Wars for Ancient Greece. Yeah, I want to see a picture. What's the picture look like? Bunch of little guys fighting around and stuff. Spartans. I remember what do you guys feel about the Spartans? You guys like them or not? I remember in 6th grade, I thought the Spartans were awesome. Now the more I read about them, like, I wouldn't want to be for them. They're like dicks. Like, they don't have any fun. Roma Invicta. I had to return. Like the Steam lets you do that, yeah. Roma Invicta was the one that were like, every time you turn around, it's... anytime they would turn around, there was something that was pushing that. I think that's the game. I just don't have it in me anymore to play those games. It's just a big time waste. I mean, yeah, they're fun, but at the end of the day, you don't have anything to show for it. And, you know, anybody can play a computer game. Only a few of us paint. Shit, it's after 10:30. I'm going to have to call this one out. I'm gonna have to stop this because it's a work day for me tomorrow, unfortunately. Not tomorrow night though. So, Jimmy Clash of the Ancients is a Pyrrhus expansion. I can't play Pyrrhus worth a damn. In the first Rome Total War, there was two expansions. One of them was called Rome Total Realism, and the other one was called Europa Barbarorum. And Europa Barbarorum was really challenging, but I enjoyed playing Pyrrhus because you basically have an army that cannot be funded. You're going to go in the red every turn, so you have to take casualties and conquer land to offset each other, and just getting that going is interesting. But in the second Rome, the standard game, and I forget what the hell it's called. I've got an expansion to it. I went and looked at and saw which one was the most popular mods for it. To add more detail, it's impossible to play him. He's just surrounded by a bunch of guys that are like, if he goes after Rome, he gets backstabbed. It's difficult to try to take the Romans out, and he'll lose everything that he's got. He'll lose Epirus from all the enemies because he's got like everybody at his throat. He's got the Antigonids at his throat, and Sparta and Athens. And if he just abandons, Brundisium, then he's still got an uphill battle. It's very, very difficult. Very, very difficult. So, did something right because we still praise the 301 Spartans as examples of heroic sacrifice. Oh, so they make good sacrificial lambs. Life of a Legionnaire is another cool game, completely different than Hegemony. Europa Barbarorum is a really cool mod. Yeah, I played the hell out of it way back when. The only thing I didn't like about it is it took forever to load up, at least on my computer. But once it was on there, I played it quite a bit. It was certainly better. The basic game I didn't play worth a damn. Once I found out, Egyptians have freaking New Kingdom style chariots, I'm like, this isn't going to work. We need to find something else. And Europa Barbarorum, I played it quite a bit. And I enjoyed playing Pyrrhus a lot because you had to play keep away. You had to put your phalanx and try to push this way while you held back. And those elephants, you couldn't build them forever. Because the unrealistic thing about the game is you might have had like a proportional army that you started the game with, but the infrastructure that your towns have at the beginning of the game can't support any of that stuff. So like, for instance, you might have like companion cavalry or agama, but you have no capability to build any of that up. You've got elephants with towers, but no ability to build elephants with towers or get any more at the beginning of the game. So you really have to husband what you have. And that was one of those challenges is husband, those elephants were like holding. You like held on to them and you didn't use them if you didn't need to. They were like behind the lines where you could punch them out if you needed to. And it was really interesting. You accidentally found some hidden script in Europa back in the day that wasn't supposed to be there. Uh-oh. Did it mean, was it a prayer to Baal or something? But unlike a game like Titan Quest or a game like Diablo or something like that, those games like Europa, Rome Total War, I don't go in there and play every single faction all the way through. It's not like, I can't wait to play this Swaby and play them all the way through. I'm not going to play all those different nationalities. You're going to pick one or two, and that's it. Armies are super expensive in Europa Barbarorum. You had to make some risky moves. Get off the ground in that game, yeah. But it's not as hard as as Rome Total War 2. I find Rome Total War 2 is just, and I don't want to play the naval stuff, man, at all. I've watched demos on them, and they're just way too finicky. I just do auto all the battles for the naval. I'm not interested in that. But, Europa Barbarorum I had some good times with that. Definitely. I think it was a good balance. But I forget what the name of the mod is that I have for Rome Total War 2, but it's supposedly the most realistic one. But I load it up, and all of like Pyrrhus's companion guys and his elephants have the feathers on their headdresses like the Seleucids have. That's a very distinct Seleucid headgear that only they have. And the heavy cavalry and the elephants have it. And that's what the designers of this mod decided to give the troops that Pyrrhus has. And they give them... no, the core game gives them African elephants. And they should be Indians. But anyhow, quit playing Rome Total War when he took my legion that conquered Germania, Gaul, and Britain into Rome, and I was told, no, I cannot declare myself dictator. Yeah, there's some politics and stuff in the new one that actually are kind of interesting. In some ways, it's more interesting than the standard game. Because I've played all the tactical battles, and you can out-tactic the computer. And everything just turns out the same thing. Hold your line, send in your cavalry to ream them from behind, and they just fall to pieces, and you just wipe up. And then you guys get more experience, and it becomes easier the next time. So, it's rinse and repeat. Anyhow, it is nearly 11 o'clock, and thanks for hanging out with me, folks. And we've got one and partial of another one done, and lots of successor Alexander type talk, and I'm sure there'll be more of that. I know what it is. We should talk about an army when we're not painting it, and then when we're painting that army, not talk about that one. So, anyhow, Europa Barbarorum 2 is really good too. I didn't know that. We'll have to check that out. Hopefully it's not for the first game, because I don't have the first game anymore. That was on my original computer. But anyways, Hoffman, thanks for coming by. Nordic, as always. Clay S, welcome. And I wonder who's going to bail. I wonder who's going to bail Rick out, because apparently he got himself into trouble. But anyhow, we'll catch you guys tomorrow.